Well, the Kansas House of Representatives recently passed a couple of key bills, one of which was HCR 5004, with 90 voting in favor and 28 opposed. Last Wednesday, the bill, if approved, would clarify that only United States citizens can vote in Kansas elections. The bill now goes to the Kansas Senate for approval, and if it's approved by that body, it would be later turned over to you, the state's voters, for a final decision. With us now to tell us about the bill is Representative Pat Proctor, who chairs the House Elections Committee. Pat, nice to have you on the show again, my friend.
No, thanks for having me. Sorry I can't be there with you in Topeka. I'm going to be there tomorrow morning. I'm trying to get some stuff done here in the district before I go back.
No. Well, you gotta be in the district. I mean, that's who you work for. You don't work for me, brother. So let me start with this. 28 people opposed this. First off, were any of those Republicans, or was that all Democrats, Pat?
Yeah, it was all Democrats. We got some Democrats to side with us on this bill, and I don't understand why it's not 125-0. It seems to me common sense.
That's my next question. So it was only the D's that voted against it, but why oppose this? I mean, what rationale could you use to think that non-citizens should be voting in our elections? What's the logic behind voting no on this?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd say it was a shock to me when I discovered that nowhere in the Kansas Constitution and nowhere in statute does it actually say you have to be a citizen to vote. It says that you can't prevent a citizen from voting if they're 18 and they live in the district, but nowhere in the Constitution, because it was such an obvious principle, did our founders think to say you have to be a citizen to vote. But clearly we need to say that because there's 28 representatives in the Kansas legislature who, for some reason, don't think you should have to be a citizen to vote. So I guess it must be necessary.
I guess, although it seems like just one of those silly things. You would think that you shouldn't have to pass these kinds of bills. Chances of passing the Senate? You think they'll have any trouble passing this across the hall from you in the lower chamber?
Yeah, God willing, we're going to have overwhelming support in the Senate as well. I really want Kansans to have the right to make their voices heard on this in November 26th, because I think it'll send a strong signal. There are 5 other states that have very similar language to us in our Constitution, states like California, New York, and Vermont, and they allow non-citizens to vote in their elections right now. So, we are at risk. A municipality tomorrow, I'm going to pick a name out of a hat, Lawrence or Wyandotte County, could decide that they wanted to have non-citizens vote in their election, and it would be completely legal. So I think it's important that we get this on the ballot so that Kansans can say with one voice, no, U.S. citizenship means something, and only citizens should be able to vote in our elections.
We're talking with Representative Pat Proctor, chair of House Elections Committee, and I know I'm kind of coming up on my middle-hour break, but I wanted to ask you one other question. You had a bill that I think also came out of your committee on how we choose to, when we have a replacement at the federal level, say at the United States Senate, something like that. That's a key thing. Obviously, the Trump administration is moving fairly quickly to fill some of these vacancies. But if something came up and he needed to, wanted to say appoint Dr. Marshall or somebody like that to a federal, to some kind of a position in the cabinet, and there was a vacancy, I know you guys passed a bill in order to do that, but I thought that was something that was going to be expedited. I remember talking with Speaker Hawkins when you started session, and he said that was something they were going to fast track. You guys did. But I haven't seen anything happen. It's for inside baseball terms. My understanding is the bill's lying below the line. What's happening with that? How come it's stalled?
There's a lot of behind the scenes talk. We want to make sure whatever we pass is constitutional and can survive challenge. And, there's a bit of difference between the version that we've run in my committee and the version that's been run over in the Senate committee. And so, it's by no means dead, and I think it's going to come out of this week, come to the floor this week and be passed. But we just want to make sure. I would hope so.
You've got turnaround coming up this week. So
yeah, exactly. But what it does, U.S. senators insurance commissioner or the state treasurer, if that position has to be replaced, it's not just the governor picking whoever she wants. It has to be that she has to pick from a list that's selected by the legislature, and they have to be from the same party as the person who is elected. Because, this just happened not too long ago right here in 2nd District where I live.
Right.
Jake LaTurner ran for Congress and won, and the governor replaced him with a Democrat, even though the voters of Kansas had picked a Republican for that seat. And so what we're trying to do is just reinsert the voice of the people of Kansas into the decision.
Well, that's exactly what I was hoping to see. So good. Well, hopefully they can work out the differences between the House bill and the Senate bill, and we'll see some resolution on that. Brother, I appreciate you. If folks want to connect with you, if they want to keep in touch with things that you're doing on elections for the state, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, so my website is Pat Proctor, 4ks.com, and there's a little sign-up link on there. It'll add you to my email newsletter, and I cover kind of everything that's going on in the Elections Committee one week, and then the next week everything else that I'm working on, and the important stuff going on in the legislature. So if folks want to follow what we're doing, that's the place to go.
Pat Proctor, 4ks.com. Appreciate you, brother. Keep up the good work, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me on.